From the Homestead Studios in Santa Clarita, California, it's Just the Tip-Sters with Melissa Morgan.
What's actually in prison chili?
Today with special guest Jon Grobman, Director of Programs for Paws for Life Canine Rescue. Remember, if you've got a tip for Melissa, tell us about it by calling the Tipster hotline at 832-TIPSTER. That's 832-847-7837, or send an email to jttipsters@gmail.com. We just might hear your tip on the podcast. And now here's your host, never barking up the wrong tree, but sometimes barking back at the dog, Melissa Morgan.
More cowbell. Yeah, she doesn't like it when I bark at her.
I don't know. I think she well, she kind of misunderstands.
Yeah. She actually howls now.
Yes, she does.
I can't wait to get her DNA test back because she's part wolf or some bullshit.
Coyote or something.
Coyote.
I mean, or maybe there's a little bit of hound in her because what happens is when right, exactly,
extended dance mix.
When you leave and I'm here, if I'm here and you leave and she thinks that I'm not here and she's all by herself for the first 5 minutes, it's
Howl City.
Oh my God.
She's Wolfman Jack.
Yes. Yeah, Wolfman Siren.
Yeah. Well, anyway. She's this episode is going to be different than a lot of episodes you have heard from us, and it's different in a beautiful way. And a lot of what we cover here is very dark, which I mentioned, but this is a story of light, and it's a beautiful story of how we got our new family member, Siren Marie Morgan Humphreys, and the program that helped us get her. And it is a spectacular program, and I cannot wait to see how the tentacles of this program reach out and hopefully across the country in the prison system. And it has given me, I started to say pause, but that's P-A-U-S-E, as opposed to pause, P-A-W-S. It's actually given me both kinds of pause. The pause of a beautiful girl dog, and given me pause in how I feel about sentencing. I can't believe I would be someone championing sentence reform, but here I am, the person who is very eye for an eye, black and white, and there's so much more gray than I ever like to admit, but I am looking forward to finding out more about how to help restructure sentencing in the United States, but definitely in the state of California. So we hope that you will really enjoy this interview. We adore Jon and Alex, the director of the program, and he is she's the president, I guess, of the program. He's the director of the training programs in the prison, and he's a fantastic dude, and I think you're going to love hearing his story on this episode. So we're really grateful to have with us a special guest today, which we're really excited about. It's a different kind of interview than we have done in the past, my beloved true crime fans, but it's still, I think, one you're going to find as fascinating as I did. And this man's partly, if not completely, responsible for the new addition to our family, who's the biggest pain in my fucking ass, and I love her with all my heart. And that is Siren Marie Morgan Humphreys, our little girl. We talked about her. She's a dog, by the way, not a child. We talked about her a little bit on the last episode and said we'd be talking about her in upcoming episodes, and here we are. Typically, when we recorded last year and the year before, we had our other two dogs with us still, and Belladonna Humphreys would continually bark and howl at phantom leaves out the window, and Siren has been pretty good during the recording. Wouldn't you say, Producer Mark? She's been pretty good?
So far, so good.
So how we got Siren is an interesting story. As I'd mentioned, we had lost our two dogs in 2019. 2019, as bad as 2020 has started out, and it is not pretty, 2019 was the worst year of my life. We lost Mark's father. We both got sick. We lost both dogs within 4 months of each other. I wanted 2019 to just catch fire and go away. And 2020 has become a real interesting year too. But last year was terrible. And it took me a long time to think I could adopt another dog because I just would cry every time I would think about it. So in December of 2019, I started looking. And I looked at rescues. And I should mention our guest is Jon Grobman, by the way. Jon will back me up. Getting a dog from a rescue, you can get a Chinese baby girl out of a gutter easier. They just like throw babies away. But getting a dog from a rescue, they, as Mark likes to say, they crawl up your butthole with a colonoscope. They really just check you out, which they should. They want dogs to go to the right home, the right people. I get it. But I filled out so many forms, like my hand was cramping with the different rescues I'd filled out forms. And I just started looking at our local shelter. And finally on a Saturday, I think it was February 15th, day after Valentine's Day, producer Mark and I went to our local shelter, and the dog I had wanted to see, I didn't want a young dog, didn't want a puppy, didn't want a young dog. I'm old. I wanted a fucking old dog. I was looking at a 6-year-old German Shepherd. And he had been adopted the day before and returned, so we weren't allowed to see him because he had bitten a child in the face, even though they had told the young man who adopted him, he's not good with kids. And the young man wanted a dog of any kind and just adopted the dog, and he was back and couldn't be seen for 17 days or something. So as we're driving home, I'm crying and saying, we're never going to get a dog. We're just never going to get it. I don't know when it'll happen. It's just not going to happen. It had been 2 months I'd been looking. And we pass Petco, and there is an adoption fair. And we get to meet the phenomenal Alex Konner, who is, I guess, the president of...
Yes, she's the president and founder.
And Jon is the director of training and a god among men. So they're filling out forms, and Alex is showing us a couple of older dogs. We looked at an older pit bull and not like a senior dog, but a midlife dog. And what was the other one we looked at? Mark, do you remember?
We looked at a pit bull, and we looked at another mix, and I can't remember what.
I was thinking a German Shepherd.
And by the way, we should mention the name of the organization is
Paws for Life, Canine, which we will get to, I promise. So yeah, the rescue or the adoption that was going on at Petco was for Paws for Life, canine.org is their website. And I was like, okay, these people seem pretty normal for a rescue. They're not too crazy. So I'm filling out forms and putting myself on a waiting list for a couple of these dogs. And both Mark and I, almost at the same time, see a picture of Siren. And we both were like, oh, she looks a little like Belladonna Humphreys, our German Shepherd. She looks, not knowing she was a Belgian, I've been corrected, Belgian Malinois. I like Malinois, but other people yell at me and call it Belgian Malinois. So didn't know she was a Belgian Malinois, and didn't know that they were very good dogs for law enforcement, for search and rescue. Didn't know any of that. And we both Mark and I both the same, like, this one's interesting. And Alex goes, oh, she's on her way. She's on her way. And I'm like, oh, where's she coming from? And Alex says, Northern California. She was trained at Vacaville prison. And I'm like, why is she in prison? What happened? What'd she do? Did she kill a man? I don't understand. Not knowing that Paws for Life is a spectacular organization that does such great work. And here comes Jon with Siren, and we fall in love. And Alex was like, you can take her today. And I'm like, what? No, that doesn't happen. No, you have to wait like weeks and be approved. And she's like, no, I looked at your application. You can take her today. I'm like, we could take her today? I was so overjoyed. And so I like to call it the meet cute. In movies, like the heroine and the young man meet cute. And Jon meets us in the parking lot of Petco. And he's like, hey, what's your license plate for? And it says true crime. And I'm worried because Jon is now going to bring Siren to our home for a home visit. And I said, oh no, please don't worry. I don't kill people. I host a podcast. And Jon like doubles over in laughter and he goes, oh, it's okay. I work every day with people that kill people. And I'm like, I need to know a lot about what's happening right now. So he brings Siren to our home and we just fall in love with her, and she loves our yard. She probably loves us too, but she loves the yard a lot. And we stand in my backyard, and Jon says, I'm going to tell you my story. And here's where I want you to tell me your story. Tell me how this all started. Tell me everything I need to know about Jon Grobman that I don't know, because I already adore you. So.
All right. Well, this is a long story, so I'll give you.
You take all the time.
I'll give you the not so long version. First off, that was an incredible day. Meeting you and Mark, and just leaving early in the morning, and knowing that I was coming with these incredible dogs that were trained at the California Medical Facility by our incarcerated trainers. We have such a good team of people at Paws for Life Canine Rescue, and the fact that I pulled up and you were ready to adopt Siren, who was one of my all-time favorite dogs in the six years that I've been involved in this program. I just adored Siren. I have the same breed. My dog, it's
Mally.
Belgian Malinois. Yeah, and
she's
just
a Mally.
incredible. So if we fast forward back to 2005, I was a methamphetamine addict, a thief, a liar, a not good person who had suffered drug abuse for a long time, who had been molested as a child, by a doctor, and I basically had a pretty horrible life, most that I inflicted upon myself. And in 2005, Santa Clara County, the courts sentenced me to 6 life sentences consecutive to 40 years. So I was given 190 to life under the California 3 strikes law, and it was for nonviolent crimes.
Nonviolent crimes, right?
For nonviolent crimes, forgery, embezzlement, grand theft, possession of methamphetamine, auto theft.
Burglary,
Burglary. These were all theft crimes.
Right.
But it was a culmination of committing these crimes over and over and over. I basically was considered a career criminal, and certainly the judge and myself at that point felt that I had no worth to society, and that I wasn't worthy to be out on the streets or ever given another opportunity.
Wow.
And that started kind of a pathway for me to my own personal transformation. I decided early on while incarcerated in the prison system.
And you were there for 13 and a half years.
Yeah, I was there for 13 and a half years, and it was, it's for the most part, it's a pretty horrific, humiliating, dehumanizing existence. But what I decided was that I wanted to transform myself personally so that the footprint that I left on this earth wasn't that of what I had created through most of my life, which was somebody that was dishonest, somebody that stole and lied and did all these horrible things, and theft crimes are just they equally victimize people, and the ripple effect they cause in the community is absolutely horrible. And I did this to my own family, friends, employers, anybody and everybody that loved me and reached out to me. So I started on this journey of transformation with self-help classes, and what I discovered early on was that living a life of service to others felt really good, and helping others. So even though I knew I never had a chance to come home, or that I would never have the opportunity to be with my family, which this part gets emotional,
Sure.
Just thinking that I would never have the chance to, prove myself to my mom and my dad that I was a good person. I thought at least I could make the inside community a better place, and maybe help younger prisoners that were coming into the system not get involved in gangs and drugs and criminal activity. So I thought, why not help create rehabilitative programs inside the prison system? And I worked really hard. I was a clerk for the captains and associate wardens, and I was given an opportunity to create art programs and music programs and self-help groups and mentorship programs. And ultimately, I was very fortunate to work for Captain Wood, who decided to create this dog program inside the prison. And she partnered with Alex Konner, and we created Paws for Life.
Could you
started with
ever picture? Could you ever? I mean, because what it sounds like is that you made the choice inside yourself to show the best part of you and put the other parts that you weren't so happy with or proud of behind you. Did you have, I mean, it sounds like literally like you're Sisyphus pushing a rock up a hill. Did you have any idea? I mean, that it would just have to be such a huge undertaking, but did you have any idea when you started this what it was going to be, how it was going to evolve?
I really didn't, and I didn't, I didn't even have a clue of where to begin to, to work through my childhood trauma and things that had led to me becoming the person that I was. And, I was fortunate in getting involved in self-help programs and groups and learning to talk about things that I had done and things that had happened to me.
Right.
I never understood the power of how that could help somebody transform.
Like
and
we're only
become
as
the person.
sick. We're only as sick as our secrets.
Right.
And
yeah.
once you say it
so,
out loud, it sort of takes the teeth out of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so, all these things kind of culminated to 6 years ago. Paws for Life was created inside. It was the first ever dog program in a men's maximum security prison in California, and we started this tiny little program with five dogs and 14 men, and nobody believed there was going to be dogs in the prison. I could tell you that. We put up this was on a yard of 1,000 men, and we put up sign-up sheets, and I think about 10 guys signed because everybody thought it was a trick. 10 guys signed up. It was like telling people there was going to be a fishing trip. Sign up, nobody would believe it. It just doesn't happen. And I actually had to go convince people that I was close with, like, hey, this program's real. Come sign up. And so we started in 2014 with that small group, and we started training dogs just to make them more adoptable. These were dogs from high intake and high kill shelters, and what I quickly learned was the profound effect that these dogs were having on people, including myself. But there were men who had been in prison 30 and 40 years and hadn't seen a dog,
Yeah.
and hadn't experienced unconditional love,
Yeah.
or just all the things that come from an animal. And because at the end of the day, when that animal looks at you and you're the one feeding it and grooming it and taking care of it and walking it and training, you're just the person that loves it, and it loves you back unconditionally. It doesn't recognize that you're in blue clothing that says CDCR prisoner.
They don't judge. They don't judge you.
Yeah. They don't judge you.
That was one of the most beautiful things. So there's a documentary that I believe you said will be coming out on Netflix.
Yeah, we're hoping Netflix. It's coming out on PBS and Netflix.
PBS and Netflix, and it's I've been lucky enough to see an early copy, and it's called Shelter Me, Soul Awakened. So I didn't get until it was just put in front of me how close animals in a shelter are to people in prison. The parallel lives where someone or an animal control officer or someone turns a dog or a cat or an animal into a shelter and says, I can't deal with them anymore. I can't take them anymore. I don't want them anymore. I'm moving, whatever their excuse is. And they don't have a way to protect themselves on the street. So they're put in a shelter, which I don't want to say is a prison, but it's kind of a prison. And then these humans who are in a prison are training these dogs who have been, in a prison, and you're symbiotic. You give each other respect and attention and unconditional love. And it is the most eye-opening, amazing thing I've ever seen. I would never have gotten it. I would never have made that connection until I saw the documentary. I've seen TV shows, reality TV shows about people who take care of animals in prison. I still didn't get it. I didn't get it. This documentary is so organic and authentic and sincere, and it explains life to me, quite frankly. It's like the
producer Stephen Latham did an amazing job capturing the true essence of Paws for Life, and kind of like what you were saying, where it's affording second chances to the dogs and for our incarcerated trainers.
Yep.
I mean, in both senses, these are people that have been cast away, and like my own life, their lives were determined to not have any worth. A lot of our dogs come from high kill shelters where they're killing up to 20 dogs a day. So we're fortunate to be in a position to provide opportunities for the men inside the prison, and we're saving dogs. And as part of that, we've expanded our program now. We're providing service dogs for military veterans diagnosed with PTSD, victims of violent crimes. As you know, we recently provided a service dog to a girl that was shot in a school shooting, and that dog has changed her life.
Absolutely.
And we're also providing emotional support animals for first responders in LA Fire Department and Santa Barbara Fire Department. So in doing that, we're providing an avenue for our trainers to make amends back to the community.
Yeah,
and
it's such an amazing thing that you're doing. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's just like this really organic process for somebody to be able to make amends, and that helps their own healing. And I think, like I said, the greatest attribute to changing my own life was to live a life of service to others. And so it's like so powerful what comes over you when you realize that you can have a positive effect in somebody's life, when, especially in my own position where I had taken from so many people and caused harm in my own community. This was just one way to give back.
Is that Mally?
That was Mally, yeah.
Hi, Mally.
So I'll briefly tell you the story of Mally. She was the last dog that I trained while I was incarcerated. Towards the end of my 13 and a half years, Mally was my cellmate, and at the time she was being trained in what we hoped she would go to a military vet with PTSD. Unfortunately, right towards the end, we career changed her because she was a little too reactive. But when I was fortunate to get my commitment recalled, and I was resentenced to credit for time served with no parole or probation as the first ever prisoner to receive a recall of commitment in the state of California.
Wow.
When I left, Mally stopped eating. She and I were so bonded and worked so well together. She stopped eating, and so Alex Konner, our amazing president and founder of our organization, thought maybe you could bring Mally home with you. And so I had just come home. I didn't have money. I was in a transitional house. I was trying to do all these things, and my parents said, "We'll pay. We'll fly you out. We will we will hold Mally for you, and we'll do whatever it takes." And so that's what happened. And I flew out and got her, my first time on an airplane in 13 and a half years, and I flew back with Mally right, because she was a trained service dog. I flew back with her right next to me, and she's been with me ever since. I've been home almost 2 years now, and as you know, I continue to go back inside. My job is going back inside and working with prisoners, and training them to train dogs, and team building and leadership, and providing avenues for other people to come home, which is something very, very important to me and I'm very passionate about. 21 of our participants have been commuted by the governor, in part to their work in our program.
Yes.
But, also they have done incredible amounts of work, to prove themselves to the governor that they are worthy of a second chance. You figure there's 137,000 people in the Department of Corrections, so the percentage of people that would ever have an opportunity to come home through the commutation process is well below 0.5%.
Right.
And the other kind of great statistic about that is that people that were serving long terms and life terms have the lowest recidivism rate of any prisoner.
I had no idea.
Less than 0.5% of people that were serving long term and life terms ever recidivate, versus the normal recidivism rate, which is over 50%.
Right, that's what I would imagine. And I will tell you your story I hope I don't embarrass you, but when we were standing in my backyard and you said, I'm going to get emotional, and you started telling me your story, and then I'm standing there crying, which that's not a big deal. I cry like when it's Tuesday. I just cry all the time, good, bad, indifferent, whatever. I just cry. I cry. I leak a lot. And it was such a beautiful story. And I will just tell you how your story even put icing on the cake that was already baking for me. I am a real black and white person. I don't see life as gray. And it's so much more gray, so many more gray areas than I ever like to admit. I'm black and white. You're either right or you're wrong. You're good or you're bad. And no one's really like that. I've grown up in my dotage. I've figured that out. And part of that is producer Mark, who, while we differ politically on most everything, he has opened my eyes to the death penalty being a non-starter. I'm very much like one of the reasons I started the podcast. You take someone else's life, fuck you, you need to die. There are so many people in the prison systems right now who have been wrongly convicted, wrongly accused, wrongly indicted, and wrongly convicted. And I have changed completely in how I look at the death penalty. And I know what we're talking about is a very different thing than what you and most of the people that are in the Paws for Life program have been through and have been convicted for. But I would never have thought of myself as someone who wants to champion, changes in our corrections system. But hearing that someone, and I'm not giving you an out because we all make choices and you made some bad ones, but someone who has done a bunch of shitty things that were nonviolent nonviolent because of an addiction, given 190 years, I don't understand. I don't understand.
And certainly, my case is not unique.
Right.
And there were thousands of people convicted under the California Three Strikes law, and there's many people, Melissa, that think kind of where you started your thinking, eye for an eye.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are raised to think like that and take that ideology. But the truth is, there's something bigger in humanity and as us as humans, and that's like, should we define somebody by their worst act for the rest of their life? Like if you think about the worst thing you've ever done in your life, Melissa, is that what you want to be defined as forever?
Yeah.
And are you the same person that you were when you were 17, 18, 19 years old now?
Right.
Like we aren't the same people that we were as children. And sometimes people make really, really bad decisions at a young age prior to their brain being developed.
Right.
And they spend, 25, 35, 40 years in prison, and that's not who they are ananymore.
And that's not going to help.
As a society, we permanently define people by those acts. And, it's like you're talking about the death penalty, I think equally is life without the possibility of parole.
Yeah, that's a death sentence.
That, for me, that's the other death penalty.
Yeah.
And as somebody that was sentenced to die in the prison system, which I was, I was given 190 to life and told, go die in prison. And, as somebody that was in that position once before, I feel very strongly about people that have earned it, that have made amends, that have, changed. I feel very strongly about them getting an opportunity to come home.
I hope everyone will, watch the documentary when it's available. But one of the men in the documentary, Miguel, he said that he, had been in prison 31 years and had never been able to pet a dog. And when he got Asher, of the beautiful pit bull, who was so tail between his legs, head down, he said Asher reminded him of himself. He said, this is how I was when I got here. And, another person named Chris said, working with the dogs gave him a chance to be vulnerable. And that's what is such a beautiful thing to see. I mean, you see all of these, whether it's in a Hollywood fictionalized film or a documentary, you see all of these men with not a lot to do and way too much time. As Miguel said, I'd given myself the mindset I need to do my time and die. And they're, lifting weights or working out, and there are different yards in different prison systems. And one yard is for those who work with dogs, and you can feel the difference. You can feel the difference in, they're next to each other, they're all outdoors, and yet the difference in the men working with animals, it's noticeably, palpable. You can feel the difference in how they walk, how they talk, how they interact with each other, not just the dogs, but with each other. And one of the other beautiful things is that apparently in most prison systems, you stay with your own race. It's very segregated. And yet
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
And these men, there was like a
system is a breeding ground for racism, hatred, violence, and our program and the dog programs that are in the prison system create a culture of family and caring and mentorship, and they create something
community.
very different.
It's like a community. Yeah, it may not be the community you want to live in now, but it's the community you have, and it's like everyone's part of an HOA, and they're all trying to make their yards prettier.
Absolutely. And mind you, it is a gated community. So.
It's definitely a gated community. But it's so, when I see, an African-American man, I think it's John and, is it Elwyn or Elwood? They're both, an African-American man and a Hispanic man. And here's something else that's beautiful that I don't, maybe it's just tiny pieces of verbiage, but I feel these things are so important, what your program brings. Both of these men said, we're on Vera's team, or we're on, they're on the team of the dog. The dog is, the person, the thing that they are, they're like, well, we're on Vera's team. And so you can feel them working together. I mean,
that was Jeff and Ed Wayne.
Jeff,
okay. Two fantastic service dog trainers. And Ed Wayne has actually went from Lancaster and moved up to Vacaville and oversaw the training of your dog. So,
that's going to make me cry. That was one of the most beautiful things. It's like, I had no idea about the segregation. I assume everyone is thrown into a large pot and everyone is miserable. I didn't realize that people stuck to their own race. There's all of this infighting. I love the fact that to become a trainer and part of this program, you have to make a vow to not be in gang activities, to not, there's obviously lots of illegal things that happen in prison. No matter how much you try to not have that's going to happen. To not use drugs. So they have to all, vow to be the best of themselves and bring the best of themselves to this program and to the dogs. It's an amazing thing. I was just so blown away and unaware that this could even happen. in the prison systems. I mean,
yeah, we teach that each of the guys in our program are ambassadors for Paws for Life Canine Rescue, and that we expect them to have exemplary behavior. And the guys are there for each other, and we're there as support for our incarcerated trainers. And that goes for, when people get the opportunity to come home, we still, when they're returning citizens, we still are there for them as a family and help them in their transition back home. We've made significant headway with numerous organizations who did not hire people that were formerly incarcerated, and they've changed their policies to hire our guys who are coming out and training at a professional level.
Yeah.
And so it's just been a win-win. There's an expression that today's inmate is tomorrow's neighbor, and so we are using that opportunity to make the best of our guys inside, so that when they come home, they're good neighbors and good family members and can contribute back to society. So from beginning to end, our focus is saving the lives of so many precious animals and giving our guys second opportunities as well.
Jon, this is a really amazing story, and I'm just incredibly impressive. I have a couple of questions, just practical things, and I'm sure many of our listeners are wondering. Is this a California-only based program? Where can our listeners go to find events like Melissa and I went to adopt these wonderful dogs?
They're hoping to expand, I can tell you that.
Paws for Life Canine Rescue is a California-based organization. We are in 3 different California prisons, 1 in Southern California and 2 in Northern California. And if you go to our website, www.pawsforlifecanine.org, our events are on there. You can follow us on Facebook, on Instagram. We have incredible social media. Huge shout out to Rita, who does the best pictures and does so many things to get our dogs adopted and videos, and she works incredibly hard.
She does do great pictures.
To make sure that these dogs have an opportunity to go to forever homes.
You see their personalities, and we will absolutely put all the information up in the show notes. I promise that.
Are the events all over California?
No, our adoption events are in Southern California. We do, like, if somebody in Northern California is trying to adopt, we do a meet and greet, and then we do a home check. Like Melissa said in the beginning, it's sometimes really difficult to adopt from rescues, and for us personally, it's an application process, and we do a home check. And the reason we're so extensive is we want to make sure the dog never ends up back in the shelter.
Right.
And so when you adopt a dog from Paws for Life Canine Rescue, we will help take responsibility for that dog for the rest of its life. If you can't keep it, or you have a problem, or you need support, we're there for you for the remainder of the dog's life. And
hey, you've been incredible for us. I mean, we're old, and I didn't want a young dog, and Siren is a young girl. And I called you and was like, she's driving me to distraction, help. And you and Alex got on a conference call and said, there is a trainer near you, and his name is Manny, and I'll pay for it. And I was like, no, you won't. We'll pay for it. You don't pay for it. We adopted her. She's ours, and we'll pay for it. And Manny came and was phenomenal. And I was like, I'm terrible and a horrible trainer, and I can't do this. And he goes, you don't even need me to come again. And I'm like, yes, I do. And that's the thing. I had to beg him to come again. He's coming again on Monday as a report card to check up on me. But I mean, you guys are like a real, I don't want to, compare you to an adoption agency, but you're a real adoption agency. You're there before, during, and after. You're there to train the dogs before.
We want everybody to be happy with the dog. We want everybody to be happy with the dog they have.
Yeah.
And our amazing team, Alex, and Kati, and Carmen, and Rita, everybody is really dedicated to finding the best possible solutions for the dogs. And that includes all of our guys inside that are part of this
Absolutely.
process too. Like every one of them is invested in the success of a dog.
Right.
It's why they work so hard to train and get the dog prepared to go home.
Something that Jensen said, and Jensen was 17 years old when he was arrested for attempted murder and given a life sentence. And 17, and such a sweet man. But something he said that was so amazing is he said, we are here to help nurture the dogs back to health. They come to us and they don't know what's happening and where, they've been in bad situations. And I thought, what a beautiful way of looking at that you're nurturing them back to health and they are nurturing you back to life. I mean, they are giving you something to do with your life and you are giving them back their confidence, their ability to express love and to be amazing, family members and households. And, Siren Marie is a giant pain in my ass, and I wouldn't trade her for anything in the world. I think, like most beautiful girls, she's a fucking asshole, except she doesn't even know she's beautiful. That's what's so great is everyone's like, oh, she's so beautiful. And I'm like, don't tell her that. She's going to get a big fucking head. But, yeah, she's exquisitely beautiful, and she wants to be a good family member. So we're working together. I'm the one that needs the training, and you guys are so fantastic with helping find the right resources to help me be a better pet parent and for her to be a happy girl. You had said that Siren was found in a field in Merced, California. I can't even imagine how that happened. Like who would leave a dog in I mean, I know you've probably seen much, much worse, but who leaves a dog in a field? I don't understand.
It's not an uncommon event for dogs to be strays out in Merced County, and some get picked up by people and turned into the shelter. Animal control picks them up. The problem is the intake is so high in Merced that in order to take new dogs in, the dogs that have already been there, sometimes as little as 3 days have to be put down to make room for the new dogs. And it's just we're so lucky to be one of the organizations that gets to go in with New Beginnings, who we partnered with to get the dogs out of that shelter, and we want to save as many lives as possible. So
I would call it like
we're trying to encourage people adopt, don't shop.
Absolutely.
And, contact your local rescue or us if you're looking to adopt, and let us get you a great dog that's been trained and that can come change your life the way they do for all of us that are involved in this program.
Yeah, and I think it's wonderful that an organization like Petco, which used to profit from the sale of dogs, doesn't, and they hold these events. I mean, it's extraordinary. It's really. I think the whole attitude about whether or not you need to have a purebred dog in your house, it's fading away. It's just drifting away because the rescue dogs are always so grateful,
so much better,
and they're so much happier to be with you.
Yeah.
It's just an entirely different attitude, and it's wonderful when you see large corporations that could profit a lot from selling dogs decide instead to hold the events like Petco held down here and allow your organization to do this. It's a great thing.
Petco is a wonderful partner with our organization, giving us space at multiple locations to hold these adoption events, and we're definitely fortunate to be partnered with such a great organization.
Well, I have to tell you, driving by, I mean, I don't believe there are any accidents. I really don't, and I don't. The same way we drove by after leaving the Castaic shelter, and I'm crying, and there you are having a pet adoption. I don't believe that happened for no reason. I don't believe the fact that you made a choice during your time to leave a better footprint than what started in this world for you. And I don't believe there's no mistake in the fact that you are who you are and you have done what you have done. And one of the things I loved that Governor Brown said in the documentary was, you have a lot of work to do. And you kind of sat up straight and said, I do have a lot of work to do. And it's not like you didn't know that. You already know that. But it was such a beautiful thing to have him say that as a reinforcement of the program. And I mean, it's just so fascinating to me to think of the parallels. When you're in a corrections situation, your structure is you eat your meals when they tell you, you go to work, you go to school, you go to the yard. It's very much like training a dog. It's the structure that a dog needs and a structure that they depend on. And it's just, I mean, who would have thought? I would never in my life have thought, hey, let's train dogs in prisons because the people that are in there have the, knowledge, capability to do this. And it's their life too. And they can share that with, a dog and train a dog to be an amazing family member. And one of the other things that was so fantastic was training, service dogs. What a beautiful thing to see vets who actually were incarcerated that, are training dogs to help other vets.
Yeah, it's one of the most amazing parts about our program is providing service dogs for military veterans. They are often, people afflicted with post-traumatic stress disorder are often in a prison of their own and have suffered, horrific trauma from things they've experienced and seen. And I've watched these veterans who actually get to come into the prison and work with the team that trained their service dogs. I've seen veterans that come in that were so shut down that they had stopped going out. They weren't able to socialize. They weren't able to go do simple things that you and I take for granted every day, like being able to shop and go to Walmart and just go to a movie. And
well, not now, thanks pandemic.
But
hopefully again someday.
Absolutely. But these dogs give the veterans their freedom back.
Oh,
and I've seen
gosh.
it time and time. I've seen it time and time again.
What an incredible analogy! That they're in a prison of their own. Yeah, I would never think of that. And the fact that they're trained to have like 57 commands and do things like I was so blown away watching. It's like, Vera, get me your leash. Vera, get my medicine. Bring me medicines, drop it in my hand, kind of. Yeah,
and they recognize seizures and
night terrors. I was blown away. I was like,
sure, yeah.
I mean,
it's an incredible process to teach the dogs to do this, and then to watch it come to fruition and see the dog actually respond. The veteran takes the dog home for the first night and comes back and gives us a report, and it's like, the dog did what we trained it to do, but the guys put in so much work to make it happen. It's really just a wonderful avenue to give back to the community.
So besides the fantastic documentary that I can't wait for everyone to see soon, tell me what's on the horizon for Paws for Life. Tell me what you're working on now.
Yeah, well, Paws for Life is looking to expand into additional prisons. We're gonna this year we're looking to get into 2 more so that we can be of greater service to the community and provide more service dogs. We are starting emotional support animals for first responders, and we're starting with 2 fire departments, the LA Fire Department and Santa Barbara, and those are our 2 pilot programs that we're putting ESAs in. Dogs have been banned from fire departments for a long time, and so we've gone to great lengths to help get dogs back into the firehouses, and we want to expand more into victim services, into people that have been victims of sexual abuse and violent crimes that are in need of service dogs. We
and don't even maybe know it.
Yeah, and we're looking to expand into that. But as we grow as an organization and learn more about what our local communities need, that's kind of our primary focus of saving as many dogs as we can and getting them to the people that need them the most.
You guys are spectacular, and we will have all the information in the show notes. And I have to tell you, a lot of what we cover on the podcast is dark and uncomfortable, and I still enjoy doing that because I need to know why, and I want to shine a light on cases where maybe someone is missing or a case is unsolved. But this has been my favorite interview, not just because we adore you, because you're pretty fucking awesome, but this is just such a fantastic program that is so needed in the world right now. We need some fucking light, and you guys bring the fucking light in a huge, like, Klieg light kind of way, a blinding, beautiful light that you provide. And I just want to say the thing that struck me the most in the documentary was Miguel, who said, "This has brought me peace." And in a situation where you probably don't have a lot of opportunity for peace, this program brought him peace. I'm sure brought the dog peace. And I know you and Alex and everybody at Paws for Life has brought Mark and I peace, spelled P-E-A-C-E, but peace spelled P-I-E-C-E, a piece of joy in our life with Siren. So we can't thank you enough, Jon, and thank you for talking to us today. And I can't wait to see what the future holds for Paws for Life Canine.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me on, and it's been a great experience talking to you guys, and it's definitely shines a light on what you guys are doing as well, which is equally important, and that there's no reason for me to be afraid when I see a license plate that says true crime.
Yeah, you never know what it might mean. It may not mean what you think.
That's right.
So yeah, thanks for giving me a second chance. You're the shit. We just love you. Thank you for talking to us. We hope you enjoyed listening to Jon's story as much as we enjoyed talking to him, and we look forward to the documentary Shelter Me, Soul Awakened, the story of Paws for Life Canine Rescue and how it came to be and what they're doing. And their website, if you want to look them up and see what they do, is pawsforlifecanine.org. And it's PAWSFORLIFE K letter K and 9.org. Paws for Life Canine. And there's Siren Marie.
Speak of the devil.
Siren is affirming. That's it. That's the website. Bark, bark, bark. But their website tells you about the program and what they're doing, what they have done, and what they hope to do, and introduces you to the people that are involved.
Yeah, and you can donate there.
You can become sort of a fairy godmother or fairy godfather and donate as little as $5 a month, something like that, to help this program. It's an amazing thing. They have a board of directors. They do the work that I wouldn't have even thought could be possible, and they are really making a difference in this world where we need a difference to be made and we need a light to be shown. So please know that it's a fantastic organization, and I think you'll really you'll learn a lot, like I did, even just looking at their website. And if you would like to donate to this program, keep us running, you can join our Patreon, and you can get some really fun things, and you can get the episodes a day early. We will send you some weird swag, and we will let you hear the episode a day before anyone else if you're for as little as $2 a month. If you're donating to Paws for Life and you can't fit that into your schedule or into your budget, we understand that. But what you could do that would be priceless for us would be to go to Apple Podcasts, give us a review, rate us with 5 stars, subscribe to the podcast, And if you have any story ideas, case ideas you want us to cover, which we have gotten some fantastic emails with cases that we're going to be covering. And that email address is jttipsters@gmail.com. You can call us on the Tipster hotline at 832-847-7837. And we have a contest where we are giving away a fantastic tumbler made for us by Southern Girl Creations, our friend Shelley. Beautiful stainless steel tumbler with our logo on it. And on the backside, it will have crime scene tape. It's a 20-ounce stainless steel tumbler with a straw and a slide lid and a $25 Ulta gift card. So you have until April 10th.
Man, can I sign up for that?
You do not. No, only if you give me the Ulta gift card. I was going to say, you do not need to go. Yeah, here's how you sign up, Mr. Man. You have to submit a case idea, either via email on our Facebook page or on the Tipster hotline, and we will put your name in a drawing. It's a blind drawing, so even if it's the most amazing case ever, you may not win, but whoever is drawn out will win. But if it's the most amazing case ever, we will still cover it. You may not win the tumbler, but we'll still cover the case.
And give you credit.
Give you credit, absolutely, as our fantastic tipsters. So yes, please go to Apple Podcasts, rate, review, and subscribe. Call us, email us. There's no us without you. And more cowbell.
And if you would like to become one of our Patreon patrons, just go to patreon.com/just the Tipsters.